The Trump administration is determined to unravel the firm and historical structures of the liberal world order, which US traditionally and historically took pride in pioneering, promoting, and protecting. What's your perspective on that?
Mr. Trump continues dismantling all those structures created after Second World War. Mr. Trump, through another executive order, has dismantled the Department of Education.
It also raises a very serious concern among over 100,000 students currently studying in US universities. This Trump 2.0, what does this mean for the rest of the world? And how can we briefly look at how the closest and strongest allies of the US are responding?
Canada is almost has decided to cancel the future purchases and procurement of F-35 fighter, and they are working with Europeans.
Recently, there was an important session of the Parliamentary Committee on National Security, which was also attended by Pakistan Army's leadership. What is its significance, and what does this mean for Pakistan's fight against terrorism, Murtaza?
New security paradigm, you call it National Action Plan 2.0, would be rolled out with or without PTI. This would have been a great opportunity for PTI to redeem itself and create the possibilities of getting back into the political domain. But the way they have acted have actually sealed their fate.
How do you look at the level of support these operations against BLA in Balochistan and TTP and KPK is likely to receive?
Given the peculiar situation of Balochistan, I think I see a major kinetic operation. You give it any name that is about to be rolled out.
Very warm welcome to another episode of our regular weekly program, The Weekend. I am Muhammad Ali.
And I am Murtaza Solangi.
Viewers, this week was also marked by some very interesting global, regional, and national developments. So brace yourself for another exciting episode in which we try to make sense of what is going on around the world and what it all means to all of us and you. So, Mr. Solangi, it seems that Mr. Trump is successfully attracting and maintaining global worry and attention around the Oval Office by regular issuance of executive orders, which seems that the Trump administration is determined to unravel the firm and historical structures of the liberal world order, which US traditionally and historically took pride in pioneering, promoting, and protecting. What's your perspective on that?
I'm sure you are aware of the desire of Donald Trump to get a Nobel Award. If there was any Nobel Award for creating shockwaves and being noticed around the globe, I think Mr. Trump has already earned it, because there is hardly any day that goes by when he doesn't create shockwaves. If there is any record of issuing executive orders or ruling through executive orders by any president of the United States, I think Mr. Trump has broken that record, hands off. So you have to give it to Mr. Trump for doing that. Last Friday, when we recorded our show, the very next morning, we got the news that USAGM, the organization that oversees and supervises and manages the international broadcasting houses run by US government, created through an act of parliament known as Smith-Mundt Act of 1942 to counter Nazi propaganda. And that eventually gave birth to Voice of America and Radio Free Europe and Radio Liberty. All of a sudden has shut down. The full-time employees were sent on administrative leave, and the contractual staff working around the globe were fired. That included Radio Free Europe, set up in Czech Republic, Prague. So you are absolutely on the money, as they say in America, that Mr. Trump continues dismantling all those structures created after Second World War. Some of them, or I would say most of them, that represented that neo-liberal or liberal political order created around the globe. I'm sure you know that yesterday, on Thursday, Mr. Trump, through another executive order, has dismantled the Department of Education created in 1979 by President Jimmy Carter. Now, for those who don't know what its impact would be internally, because it would have an external set of implications that I would ask you to tell us. But internally, it will actually sharpen the divide within United States, the divide between rich and the poor, and the divide between the white majority and the colored people, because it will basically dismantle those schools that got funding from the federal government to support low-income people, rural people, people with disabilities. Although the White House has said that they will not shut down those programs of funding, of supporting schools. But what I have read is that the staff managing those funds too has been fired or let go. So effectively, it will create a crisis. Now, since this Department of Education was created by Congress, and you need at least 60 senators in US Senate to pass that, which Republicans don't have. So we will see how this will go about, besides the blizzard of litigation that has already set in place since January 20th.
Indeed, and I think the leading Democrat leader in U.S. Congress, Chuck Schumer, has described this executive order as perhaps one of the most destructive and disastrous order given by any U.S. president in history. Because you rightly mentioned its grave implications for the support that the U.S. government traditionally provided to the have-nots in the U.S. To ensure a certain minimum standard of education. Although the argument by the Trump administration is that they traditionally believed and advocated a decentralized education system run and managed by different states themselves rather than state federally administering or controlling it, which they considered a waste of money and undue interference. The second concern that the Trump administration had was that despite so much money and people being staffed at Department of Education, the standard of education was not really very high. In fact, President Trump said that U.S. spends more money on education per capita level, but the standards are not very high, which compels the administration to do away with this wastage of funds. However, at the international level, I think among the educated circle, the concern is serious. But after our program, I think more people will take this news with a lot of concern, because as you yourself mentioned, most of the funding that students, not just in the US, but those traveling to US enjoyed in pursuit of their undergrad studies, their postgraduate studies, their higher education, including very prestigious fellowships and research grants and scholarships like Fulbright program, they might come under the hammer. And it also raises a very serious concern among over 100,000 students currently studying in US universities who are regularly dependent on these funds for maintaining of their accommodation, their food, their travel, but also their regular fees at the university. So I think this will be a huge loss of US soft power, particularly in its ability to attract the best and brightest minds from around the world, which represents one of the most attractive destination for scholars, intellectuals, writers, engineers, and scientists, which the technology industry prides in. So that again brings me to another favorite question of mine, that what this will mean if US no longer offers itself as the prized destination for the best and the brightest minds and talent from around the world. What will this mean for the US industry itself?
An important question and comment indeed by you. The strength of United States, its technological advancement, and the competition, even the competition that it did give to the Soviet bloc, resides chiefly in its diversity. The strength of United States has always been diversity. The best and the bright people from around the globe would be attracted to United States like a magnet. And they enriched the superior technological capabilities of United States. The actions that I have seen following January 20th is somehow repelling and discouraging the diversity of United States. And it does not only include the people from Global South, the people of color. If you follow the news coming out of United States, there are just too many cases of harassment of visitors from Europe, from Canada, from countries that you would not think. 20th, people who did not need a visa to enter United States. They could just arrive and get inside United States. So this would have far-reaching implications. Mr. Trump is acting like a wrecking ball and demolishing everything that comes his way. And since he has a lot of populist power, so Republican representatives of House of Representatives and as well as Senate are not having enough courage to even criticize the policies. So interesting times for United States.
Indeed, indeed. And this Trump 2.0, what does this mean for the rest of the world? And how can we briefly look at how the closest and strongest allies of the US are responding to Trump 2.0, particularly in Western Europe and Canada?
Well, Canadian Prime Minister made a first stop to Paris and then London, which is very unprecedented because the first port of call by any Canadian Prime Minister used to be Washington, D.C., and 1700 Pennsylvania Avenue, the White House. This time around, it has changed. That's a great signal. It's exactly like whenever we had a new prime minister in Pakistan, his first port of call would always be Saudi Arabia and then China. So things are just like the Bob Dylan song, times that are changing. So times are changing. Canada is almost has decided to cancel the future purchases and procurement of F-35 fighter. And they are working with Europeans in the defense industry, and they would probably go for a new version of Saab fighter jet. So Europe as a continent has decided that it's on its own. They have to create their own security frameworks, something that we have been talking from day one. And they might even partner with other global or regional forces. So Mr. Trump has successfully pushed United States into an isolationist mode, lethal cocktail of Monroe Doctrine and President Hoover's isolationist policies.
Indeed, and I think if I could briefly trace three key reactions from the Western European allies are in the diplomatic, economic, and security domains. And you already must have observed that on most diplomatic issues, it is really shocking for the Western Europe, particularly in case of Ukraine, that US and Russia, as Mr. Medvedev tweeted yesterday, the only two powers on the dinner table right now are US and Russia, and everybody else is not there. So basically, I think the European powers are feeling betrayed and let down and unwanted. So this is a new experience for them as well from Washington. In fact, a very interesting exchange was when a famous French politician demanded that the US must return the Statue of Liberty to France because it is no longer spearheading the liberal world. And the reaction by the White House spokesperson was equally curt, that the French must be grateful to the US that they are still speaking French, because if it wasn't for the US help, they would be speaking German.
Well, um, this political back and forth will go on. If you remember, during Second Gulf War, when the foreign minister of France, Dominique de Villepin, made uh, quite an important speech, um, actually criticizing Donald Rumsfeld. And there was quite a tiff between US and France even then. The right-wing media and political class in US had said that, oh, let's not call these fries French fries. Let's call them freedom fries. So
Yes.
this will go on. But since you talked about Ukraine, I must say, although there is a limited pause on not striking infrastructure and the energy installations, somehow this war would end sooner or later, but it looks more like it will end on Russian terms. Russia will not vacate the areas that it has occupied. And there's a possibility that there will be some kind of mineral deal with United States. So let's see how that plays out. But even another thing that Trump had announced in terms of Gaza, you have seen the resumption of attacks by Israel on Gaza. And if there was any possibility of breakthrough, that doesn't look like happening any sooner.
And notwithstanding just the territorial gains which Russia has made and is likely to maintain, irrespective of the likely outcome of the peace talks, which are expected to resume on Monday in Saudi Arabia. I think another big gain for Moscow is the close economic cooperation with both Putin and Trump are discussing, and they discussed in a very long recent phone call as well, indicates that they are already looking at close bilateral ties and putting Ukraine war as a sore irritant behind them. And that has really worried Europe. And it seems that US is no longer interested in maintaining the sanctions regime against Russia, which Mr. Biden orchestrated successfully with the help of the Western countries. So I think Russia is likely to recover from the strong economic sanctions regime which US spearheaded during Biden administration, and is likely to re-emerge not just at the global level, but also in European politics as a force to be reckoned with at a time when Western Europe, as you rightly pointed out, seems to be on its own. And the evidence of that realization is that they are already reviewing all major defense cooperation agreements with the US. They are reviewing even the intelligence sharing mechanism with the US. They are already considering long-term defense weapons production programs, which is basically of European nature and does not include the US. Now, what this simply means that US under Trump administration is likely to lose a big share of the international defense export market, which traditionally the Western European allies represented. And because European defense companies are going to rely less on the US support and will manufacture their own defense equipment, including land, air, and sea-based weapon systems. So this will mean that the hope that Mr. Trump had that he will revive US economy by getting rid of the obligations towards its allies could actually cost the US defense industry dearly in terms of the loss of Western European market as well.
Indeed. And even this high tariffs on steel and aluminum, which is exported by Canada and other countries, would actually hurt US aircraft industry, Boeing, and other defense establishment icons. But I must say that to me, it looks like not only the future of NATO is not bright with US on board. If there would be another NATO, that would be mainly be spearheaded by Europeans and Canadians. But the future of Five Eyes, the five intelligence agencies, is also hanging in the balance along with the future of Quad. I don't think that other members of Quad, except India and US, would be interested in maintaining that partnership in the near future.
Indeed. And since you mentioned security, let's return to Islamabad on that. And recently there was an important session of the Parliamentary Committee on National Security, which was also attended by Pakistan Army's leadership. What is its significance and what does this mean for Pakistan's fight against terrorism, Murtaza?
Well, it's clear that a new security paradigm, you call it National Action Plan 2.0, would be rolled out with or without PTI. Since PTI leadership has effectively partnered with the narrative of the terrorists, both TTP and BLA. And even they have actually resonated with the narrative pushed out by Indian media. So there would be action that you will see hitting not only TTP and BLA, but their Afghan handlers and their financiers. So I think that's about to be rolled out. When it comes to political engagement inside Balochistan, I think it will not happen now. You would see a massive show of kinetic power supported by some economic actions, social actions, but not engagement with separatists. So that, to me, looks like the way forward. And in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, if the provincial government does not support and become part of that effort, I don't see that government lasting. It might be shown the door under emergency provisions by having a political partnership with other political parties except PTI.
Very important observation, Mr. Saab. And I think, in my view, it was also an important opportunity for PTI leadership to prove before legislature and the nation that notwithstanding their political differences on issues of national security, they would like to stand by the state and the public interest. But unfortunately, this expectation was not met. And but I want your brief comment on how you compare. Sorry?
They blew it up. They blew up the possibility of course correction. This would have been a great opportunity for PTI to redeem itself and create the possibilities of getting back into the political domain. But the way they have acted have actually sealed their fate.
Now, I want you to briefly, as my last question for this program, compare the political environment in Balochistan with that of KPK. President Zardari visited Quetta, and People's Party has a government and a chief minister in Balochistan, which is who is very vocal and strong advocate of no giving no quarters to the terrorists in Balochistan. But the situation is different in KPK because both PTI, PTM are reluctant to offer support for military action, and JUI is also seems to be targeted by the terrorists. So how do you look at the the level of support these operations against BLA in Balochistan and TTP and KPK is likely to receive?
Given the peculiar situation of Balochistan, I think I see a major kinetic operation. You give it any name that is about to be rolled out, but President Zardari's presence there, I think they will focus the economic and social development programs, especially in those areas where the insurgency is relatively stronger, especially the central and southern Balochistan, where you don't have big tribal lords ruling, and you have more middle classes that are mainly affecting the political process. So that's what I see. JUI, that's also a target of terrorists, both religious and otherwise. I think they will partner in the days and weeks in front of us.
So we wish Pakistan a safe and successful recovery from terrorism. Viewers, thank you so much for watching this episode. Don't forget to share your views and comments, and keep watching this space for more in-depth and candid analysis of some of the most important issues that the world, this region, and Pakistan faces. Thank you so much.